What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Money Moves with Kay. I'm Kay, and today we're going to talk about how I went into Truist for a business bank account and walked out with a business credit card. All right. So I'm going to lay down step by step exactly what I did to get up to this point where banks are pretty much and lending institutions are chasing me down for credit and business lines of credit instead of me chasing them down. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. So what I'll do is I'll give you a little backstory and then I'll actually get into a PowerPoint presentation in which I can show you exactly how I built the foundation for my business so that when I do go into banks or lending institutions and I say, hey, I would like to borrow this, or they come to me and send me things in the mail, right? Mailers saying I'm pre-approved for this credit card or that credit card or this business line of credit. All right. So I'll kind of get started. So I went into Truist to get a business bank account. I was not looking for a business credit card. However, I've already done my research on YouTube and fellow entrepreneurs, and I already know what Truist and other banking and lending institutions are about. So I went in with the idea of getting a business bank account, another business bank account. This is not my only one, right? And he put all my information in and he was like, wow, like I've never seen this. I'm like, what? Like, what have you never seen? Hopefully it's a good thing. He was like, they're asking you if you would like a credit card, a Truist business credit card. And I was like, yes, sir, absolutely. So he said one thing that stuck with me, and that is the reason why I'm making this video, because a lot of folks look to me or other YouTubers or YouTube in general and ask, how in the world do I get funding, right? How do I get my business established with credit, business credit, that is. And he asked me, do you have any business credit? And I'm like, yes, I do. So for the past year and a half, I've built business credit because I wanted to lay a solid foundation for this point, which is having banks look at me as somebody credit worthy and, not too risky in order to give or lend money to. So without further ado, let's hop right into this thing. So what I've done is I've outlined step by step, the things that I've done. You don't have to go in this order, right? So you might want a business bank account way before all of this. But I will say this here. You can do some of these things in like one day. Like most of these things can be done in a day. So I don't think it takes a long, long time, right? The longest time probably is forming your business entity, which is, could take, a couple days or whatever to kind of form it and everything. But I'll get started. So business credit, building business credit. So the first thing you want to do is you want to form a business entity, right? So this business entity can be an LLC, S Corp, whatever you decide to form. You need to form a business entity because the whole idea with business credit is that you want to lay the foundation to and establish yourself as an actual business, a running, functioning business. Even if you're new, you want to establish yourself as a business. So form a business entity. The next step is to get an EIN number. An EIN number is just like a social security number for a business. Okay. So it's basically an identification number for your business so it can track, your movements and your IRS and everything. So it's literally a social security number for your business. So get an EIN number. Guys, this is free. Okay. It'll take you 5 minutes to do. It is free. All right. The next thing you want to do, and again, you don't have to go in this order, but I'm just kind of summing it up so that you know some of the steps, right, in order to kind of get this thing rolling. You also want to get a business phone number. Again, this can be done in 5 minutes, right, or less. Get a business phone number. You can get a 1-800 number if you decide, a Google Voice if you decide, but just make sure it's a designated phone number to your business. Most will say go ahead and get your 1-800 number or something, concrete, because again, you're forming yourself as a business, right? Or you get a Google Voice number, that's fine as well. All right. And that's free. You're going to get your business email. I can't tell you how many times I've looked on Google and I pretty much see a business and they have no website, or no email at all. No business email. It may be a power washing company. I always look at the email and it might say, jimcarter@gmail.com. Gmail.com. It just presents itself to me as a customer as not necessarily being official or legit or legitimate, right? I said it already. So official or legitimate, right? So make sure you get a business email so that you come across as, again, professional. That's the underlying thing here. And you also want to make sure that you are just positioning yourself so that you look credit worthy and look professional, right? So that's the main goal here, is to look as professional as possible. All right, next, so you want to look at you want to have a business website. So make sure you get a business website. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten grants over the time of COVID in the past. Free. Now this is free money. You do have to pay, depending on the stipulations of the grant. For grant, you do have to pay taxes on that. But when I say free, I didn't necessarily have to do any work for it except for apply for it, right? And the first thing they asked for with the application or whatever they had me present to them was, do you have a business phone number? Do you have a business website? So when you're in the system and you have, or you're online, when you're online and you have a website, it kind of presents yourself again as professional. That's the ultimate goal. If somebody were to Google your business, a professional email, a professional phone number, or a designated phone number, and a business website is mandatory, especially in this day and age, right? Have a business website. All right. Again, that could be done. If you know how to do it yourself, that's fine. If you don't, go to Fiverr. I've used Fiverr tons of times for all of my websites because I'm not good with that. And that's another thing, is to outsource things that you're not good at. Save time. You may spend money, but if you know how to do a business website, that could be a day's task. I don't know how long it would take you because I don't do websites, but just understand that, again, this is all stuff that could be done in one day, right? So go to Fiverr. My suggestion, if you want to get someone else to do your website, or if you're just savvy enough and technologically savvy enough to do it yourself, that's awesome. You save money and you can just do it yourself. This is an old school thing. Back in the day, in the 90s, 2000s or whatever, not 2000s, about the 90s or whatever. I remember 411, right? So you want to register your business with 411. Why are you registering your business with 411? If you're under a certain age, you don't even know what 411 is. I had to explain to my sister, what 411 is. So basically, it's a directory of businesses, and you need to, back in the day, we would call 411 and say, what's the address to Domino's, or, what's the phone number? So 411 will give you the phone number to different businesses, and you want your business in that directory as well. Many people don't use 411. That's not the point. Is, again, you're establishing yourself professionally online so that folks can somehow find you. And those folks you want to find you are banks and lending institutions that are able and willing to give you some funding. All right. And again, that takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes to do. You want to register with Duns & Bradstreet. So Duns & Bradstreet is my next step. Again, you can do this before or after. You can do this all in one day. Registering with Duns & Bradstreet and get a Duns & Bradstreet number, 5 minutes, right? So you go online, you have to put in a username, password, upload your business information, and they will give you a Duns & Bradstreet number. Now, this number can be used for credit purposes, as far as like, you'll need this later. I'll explain. I'll get back to this point. But a lot of times folks use this for government contracting as well. They ask for a Duns & Bradstreet number. Now, what is Duns & Bradstreet? Duns & Bradstreet is basically a company that has I look at it as a bureau as well, but it's a company that has all companies' information in there that register, right? So it tells how much the company's making. Are they risky as far as borrowing money and getting money that way? Are they paying their bills on time or early? So it gives a lot of vital information on that particular business. And you want to register with Duns & Bradstreet because a lot of these trade lines, which I'll get to in a second, report to Duns & Bradstreet. So you want to make sure you're G to G, which means good to go, with regards to having a Duns & Bradstreet number and registering with them. Next is a business bank account. So again, you don't have to go in this order, but I do know for a fact that you need an EIN number and articles of organization, and those two things for sure when you do register for a business bank account. So again, you are positioning yourself as a business, right? As a business, and any business will not intermingle their business and personal money together, right? So they want to have those things separate. So you need a business bank account, right? It shows that you are actually making a little money. And even if you're not making money, again, this is for new businesses as well. This is how I started. Have a business bank account. It's just mandatory for taxes as well. So here's a pyramid that I have. that kind of shows you foundationally and works your way up to things you should be looking towards, right? So, and let me say this here, because I know a lot of folks who are credit savvy and already established or have established business credit say, well, Kay, you don't need to do all of that. You can just skip the line. Yes, you can skip the line. Okay. Which I didn't mention this earlier, but you do need to make sure your personal credit, I'll repeat, your personal credit is G to G as well. Good to go. Why? Because you can skip the line. Like, you don't have to start at trade lines, right? You can skip the line and go to business line of credit or credit cards. How would you do that? By using your personal credit. So you won't need to do this foundational step that I'm talking about. So if your personal credit is not up to par, then I would personally start there as well, which I failed to mention earlier. Start with your personal credit, getting that good to go, because that will always come in handy later on when you're trying to apply for or place a car in your business name. And there's ways around it, but not too many ways around it. You're going to need that personal credit for sure down the line. Okay. But for this video's sake, I'll talk about trade lines. So me personally, what I did was I got at least 5 to 8 trade lines from different companies. Right. And if you're a member of the Patreon, go ahead. And if you're not a member of Patreon, I should say, go ahead and click the link below. I'll give more or talk more about trade lines and like the order in which you should go or what trade lines you should get. Easy trade lines so that you can start to establish business credit. Again, I'll place the link below for the Patreon. It's a group. We meet every Monday. Go ahead and sign up for that group. But you would sign up for about 5 to 8 trade lines, various trade lines. Most of them you have to pay for, right? So you're paying in exchange for them reporting to the 3 quote unquote credit bureaus, which they're going to report to Duns and Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax. Now, keep in mind that they may not report to all 3. There are companies that report to all 3, but a lot of companies will just report to one. So I have a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that allows me to say what trade line reports to which credit bureau, right? So that I know, okay, cool. This one reports here, this one reports here. It just keeps everything in order for me, and I'm able to just build a credit profile that way, business credit profile that is. So first step is you start with your trade lines. Next, you're going to go, step 2 is business credit cards, right? And this includes store cards as well, right? So Staples cards. There are some like gas cards that you may have to use a personal guarantee. I'll explain that in a second. But the second step is business credit cards. Now, personal guarantee basically is your personal credit, right? So it goes back to your personal credit again. So, like I said earlier, you can personally guarantee a business credit card, for your business, right? And it's pretty much saying that they're going to take your credit score, your social security number, and say, okay, this person is good for it, right? They're good for it. So if anything were to happen with their business credit card or business line of credit or loan or whatever the case may be, we'll hit your personal credit up. But these things are separate. And that's what I love about business credit and establishing business credit, is because it has its own profile, right? So you can have higher utilizations with business credit cards and business funding, and it won't ever report to your personal credit, right? So those things are separate. But in the event that you default, they need some collateral somewhere. They need some type of warm and fuzzy, it's a military term. They need a warm and fuzzy to say, hey, yo, this person has something on the line, which is their personal credit. Okay. So going up the tier or the ladder is business lines of credit and loans. So once you establish your trade lines and you're paying everything, then you move on to business credit cards and store cards. Then you move on to business lines of credit and loans, business loans. I personally have business lines of credit, and I love business lines of credit because they're just a lot, not a lot. They're just better to me personally, my opinion, because they're revolving, which means that it's like a credit card. If I get a $10,000 business line of credit, I can use it, which I use them for real estate. I can use it, pay it off, use it, pay it off, use it, pay it off. Boom. And it's an expiration date on that. And for me, my business lines of credit are interest only, right? So I bought land with my business lines of credit because my business is real estate. Okay. And properties and everything. So keep that in mind. Business lines of credit are amazing. I love them. Business loans, a little different as far as like they're not revolving. So there's an end date. They give you the money there and there's an end date. And once the end date is up and you've paid it off, that's it. You can't use it again. All right. So that's why I technically prefer business lines of credit. But again, you can skip the line. You can go all the way to a business line of credit. I wouldn't necessarily suggest that, but I mean, you could technically go all the way to a business line of credit and receive credit that way by using your personal credit. And by the way, throughout this video, this is not financial advice. No. This is only my personal experience. This is what I have personally done in order to move or position myself up the ladder so that I can get this funding. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. The last thing I wanted to talk about is a Paydex score. So with business credit, there are kind of 3 tiers. So you have high risk, medium risk, and low risk. So unlike personal credit, as we all know, personal credit goes up to 850, right? With the lowest being a 300. So with Paydex score is for your business, right? And it goes all the way from 0 to 100. So it's a little different in the range in which it goes up to. And I'll kind of break down each one of these. So high risk basically means that your score is from 0 to 49, which means that you are 31 to 90 days late with your payment. And that's not good because once banks and lending institutions are looking at your credit profile and your credit makeup, if they see that you're high risk or you fall in between 0 and 49, then they're going to say, never mind. They're not going to pay on time. And, if like I know, I want my money on time, and so do banks and lending institutions. Okay. Going on to the medium risk tier, the score is from 50 to 79. So that's 50 to 30 days late with your payment. Okay. So you're still late, but not as late as 31 to 90 days. And again, to get the big boy funding or the big girl funding, you do not want to fall in this range at all. Okay. I technically suggest the low risk tier, which is a score of 80 to 100. And this means that you're on time with your payments or 30 days early. That's pretty much the end of my presentation. I really wanted to show you guys step by step, how in the world do you set your business up? Okay. How do you set it up for success with business funding? Type below if you made it all the way to the end, type credit. All right. I want you to type credit. It lets me know that you made it to this point of the video, and I truly appreciate you guys. Until next time, guys, you stay blessed. Peace.